Hey everyone, welcome back to Cosmic Alarm Clock. And yeah, third time is a charm. Third time in 1 week, 8/22. That is the day I'm coming to you on. And even that feels like a magical number. We just entered Virgo season. I'm a Virgo coming to you as a Virgo. And you probably didn't need me to tell you that I'm a Virgo. And while I do not actually believe in sun sign astrology, I think most of it is shit and it's ruined the profession. It's why I don't do much of it anymore in the public arena. I do believe that where your Mercury is tells you a lot about you, because your Mercury is your mind. And I have Mercury in Virgo, middle of the sign, retrograde, natally. Remember that Mercury goes retrograde for 3 weeks of the year, for 3 weeks. So there's going to be a large percentage of people that are born with Mercury retrograde by sheer math. It is the least common planet. Go backwards. It is the most common planet to go retrograde. And the least common planet to go retrograde is Mars. And that's why I talked about the big deal of Mars going retrograde later this year. And that's what the episode I just dropped about gentle power, because that is going to be what Mars in Cancer is. And there's time to talk about it. And Virgo season is here. This is going to be a quick and dirty episode because I don't even know why I'm jumping on the mic to do this so soon. And I hesitate to say this because Mercury is still retrograde for another week. It goes direct about 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 28th, right around the time we return to real life. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, real life meaning responsibilities post-summer. Although, if you guys live in the Northeast, you are feeling this fall weather. Fall is here. This Virgo season is going to be interesting, I'll tell you. And I'll also tell you something, that part of the reason I am taking the time and energy to have a separate channel dedicated to astrology and magic and alchemy, and I don't even know what this channel is. I will tell you that I originally called it Cosmic Alarm Clock Podcast and then decided to drop the name to Cosmic Alarm Clock. And that's only relevant because on YouTube, once somebody takes your name, you can't get it back. So if I later wanted to change it to Cosmic Alarm Clock and that was not available, I couldn't. And I think my intuition is that eventually this will be live streams, because I do have a podcast known as The Aligned Alchemist, and that's going to be a podcast. It'll have a trailer, it'll have show notes, it'll have music, it'll have editing, it will have a marketing schedule and a guests and all the other things. And I feel kind of weird having just kind of a podcast out there that's kind of a weak podcast. And I don't mean weak because it's not good. I mean weak that it's not getting love. And so I almost would rather do live streams and just cater to the medium that YouTube is. But I don't need to make that decision right now because I don't have to. But there's a lot shifting and mutating, and I'm sure you guys can feel this, and maybe it's just me, but there's so much fucking chaotic energy right now. And I am simultaneously like closing out my old company, dealing with paperwork from the past. Some of the stuff, you guys, I have on my to-do list since 2021. I know that's pathetic, but maybe me sharing that with you will make somebody out there feel better. I had someone just message me on LinkedIn. She responded to a message I wrote her in 2013. So if you guys feel like you're behind, you're not behind. Retrograde energy, anyone? Now we are in Mercury retrograde. We are in Mercury's home sign of Virgo, and it is Virgo season. And we've got a whole fucking week. We've got Mercury, the sun just went into Virgo, and we've got until 5 p.m. EST next Wednesday to get her done. And I'm going to get it done because I do not want to think about some of this stuff anymore. And why am I sharing all this with you? I don't really know, but it is to share that Cosmic Alarm Clock is also shifting. So Cosmic Alarm Clock, if you think about it, in personalized astrology is two things. Cosmic Alarm Clock is the full moon. A lot of people have problems sleeping on the full moon when Uranus is involved. Uranus is Uranian energy. If you're having a Uranus transit or Uranus is having an activation in the sky, a lot of people have sleeplessness. When I started my Uranus transit almost close to 8 years ago, so I started in March of 2018. So what's the math on that? I don't know. I know it goes through March of 2025. So that's 7 years. Jesus Christ. I had to give up caffeine. I can't even do decaf. And so it's an electric energy. And so that's one kind of cosmic alarm clock. And the other kind of cosmic alarm clock is midlife transits and transiting in the sky stuff. Uranus transit, I became a completely different person. I was already Iranian. I have Uranus on my ascendant, but transits and progressions are to me what make astrology interesting. I think natal chart astrology is amazing for business astrology, like your superpowers and all that, but I bring in human design because I think that adds in a different layer, and that's the aligned alchemist, and that's what the work I do with business owners partly. But I think transiting astrology is one of the most interesting things I've ever studied. Transiting astrology is the only reason I haven't dropped astrology altogether in the rise of TikTok shit and sun sign and all the horse manure on YouTube. That is what actually people want to hear, because it actually dilutes the brand a bit, because people who are into astrology in a dumb way actually kind of just ruin the entire craft. This is my platform. I can say whatever the hell I want. And if you're listening to this, you're a higher level of sophistication. You get what I'm trying to say. So there are times when you simplify and universalize things to make people understand. And then there are times when you simplify and universalize something to the point of watering it down to the point where it's inaccurate. And as a 5-1, if you know human design, I'm a 5-1. 5-1 is a universalizer and we're the investigator. So we break things down into fundamental components and then we share it in a way that anybody can understand. There are places and times for that. The way horoscopes are not the place to do that. And in my opinion, whole signs are not the way to do that. And that's the way to allow the masses to understand astrology. I refuse to do that. So it's actually interesting because when I did my Mars retrograde playlist, yes, you guys, I did an entire playlist when Mars went retrograde. Why? Because it went retrograde in Gemini, and Gemini spreads everything the fuck out. So when Jupiter and Saturn were squaring, could I do one video? No, I had to do 3. I had multiple videos on Jupiter and Gemini. I had a whole fucking playlist on Mars and Gemini. And I mentioned in one of those that Gemini is looking at things from different perspectives. So I was like, should I look at that? Should I look at the fact that, and this was early on in my YouTube journey and my spiritual business journey then. This is October, November of 2022. And I was still channeling most of my stuff at that point. You'll hear the difference in the tone of voice. If you listen to some of the earlier podcasts and I sound kind of harsh, well, if you've heard someone actually channeling an entity, entities don't give a fuck about tone. I heard someone talking about how they don't like listening to Bashar, who is actually Daryl Anka, and he channels Bashar because they don't like the tone of his voice. I was like, the whole thing is entities don't give a fuck about your emotions. It's all about getting the point across. You know, one of my earlier clients that I had done a recorded astrology reading for, she's a really smart woman and she's a manifester. And she said, I'm a pillow with a knife's edge. And that's Kali, because Kali comes through in my recorded readings. I kind of combine, I didn't have a name for it before, but I combine my astro insight and my 5-1 problem solving and my deep knowledge with the fact that I'm a gate 57 in human design, which is gate of intuitive clarity. It's the intuitive clarion. It's cutting through the crap and telling you exactly what you need to know. And so the reason I share all that is I am going to be bringing back my recorded astrology readings. Doing them recorded allows them to be any time zone. It's the only reason I can really even fit this in terms of my current life. And it just feels like the right way for me to deliver the medicine. It's no Zoom. It's no bullshit. It's no like niceisms. It's just what you need to know based on what you're struggling with and what's happening in your transiting chart. And I will bring in any natal placements that are relevant. It's not a teaching thing. They're usually about 30 minutes and they're in and out and they give you what you need to know. And that's what makes them affordable. And that's what makes them practical, because it's not about teaching astrology. There are people, I was thinking about this. I was like, the people, all the clients that I've had when I had readings, they don't want to learn astrology. Like you either want to learn it on your own, and that's classes and people like try to DIY it through the internet or whatever, or through like people giving sun sign and new moon and full moon reports. And those have nothing to do with your chart. Sometimes you might have a full moon impact you greatly, but it's because you're having a transit. That's why. Or it's happening on a planet. And so there's no weather report of now. There's the collective weather of now, which is what I share, the outer planet transits. And a little bit I'll share what personally is coming through for personal messages. I don't even know what I'm sharing with you. I'm just saying that That's what those are. And that's for what that is. It's like, you don't want to like learn all this shit yourself, but you're like, I want to know what the fuck's going on. People always say like, it sounds like, you know, they kept clarity. They're no longer in the dark. They don't feel like they're going crazy. And with all the crazy changes I've had between having a Neptune opposing all of my career planets for like a decade, and then having a Uranus transit that lasted 8 years. By the way, that's the other thing. People talk about the Uranus opposition. It's not going to just be a year for you just because it depends on your fucking chart. So I would have gone crazy, and I would have thought that I was crazy. And so astrology is very, very useful, particularly once you hit 35 years old. And a lot of the astrologers out there are like sub 35. They've barely gone through their Saturn return. It's like astrology doesn't even really become you. You don't really own your chart until your 40s. You hit your point of your North Node post like 38, 37. That's when you really start moving towards your North Node. And I don't care that it's loud. These trucks always want to do this when I'm recording, and I'm not going to stop. I'm moving my office in a couple of months, but for now I just have to deal with it. And change, you guys. I'm moving during Scorpio season. Change. The change is in the air. And I don't know why, but Scorpio season feels like it's starting now. Do you guys feel this? We have 2 months until Scorpio season. Scorpio season starts on October 22nd. There's so much transformation energy in the air, maybe because Pluto's like stationing and Uranus is stationing, and I don't fucking know, dude. It's portal energy. So at any rate, as I stare at all my many thousands of plants, I'm surrounded by plants. I am a Virgo, so I'm surrounded by plants and crystals and candles. Very Virgo. We are the priestess. I will share this with you, that I'm going to be bringing those back because your weaknesses in your 30s are your superpowers in your 40s. All of your squares and all of your T squares and your hard angles in your 30s, when you have your transits in your 40s, they unlock them. And then you have the power of your whole chart. It's not an easy process. It's a painful process. And that's why that's what the work I do with people. It's not, are you getting married? It's not, I'm going to win the lottery. That's fucking stupid. There are luckier times than others in your chart, but astrology is not a crystal ball. And again, bullshit like that is what makes this craft look weak. It's math. It takes years to understand, and it is a tool, and it is something that I feel so strongly about. I refuse to water it down for money, because I could have a huge channel where I just talk about fucking horoscopes. I refuse to do it because it's against my integrity. I've Saturn on my midheaven. I refuse to do that in Leo, which, like, if part of being a leader is showing up as a leader, you want to be first. And we've lost that. And that was kind of what I was trying to allude to in that heart versus hive, is that in this rush to appease the Aquarian tribe, we have lost leadership. We have lost people willing to put their neck out. We have lost people who are willing to be a fucking individual, be a Leo, be a creator. And so I share this with you because Virgo season is very fucking powerful this time. Now, it's not because I'm a Virgo. I was born with Mercury retrograde, and I've never felt a Mercury retrograde like this. It's because it happened in Mercury's home sign. And there's something really powerful about this entire time we're in. And I pulled 3 collective cards today for Virgo season, right when the sun was moving into Virgo. And I pulled the Ace of Wands. That's a very powerful, if you know the tarot, the wands are potential energy and fire. And that would be very much a Leo energy. And so I was like, that's interesting for Virgo season. And then I pulled 2 more cards. I pulled, you can't make it up, I pulled the Magician and I pulled the High Priestess. So if you know anything about Mercury, Mercury is the magician. Mercury, especially when retrograde, is Hermes. He goes between the underworld. He's in the dream state. He's in the hypnagogic state. That state that you're in when you just wake up and you're just falling asleep. That theta state where you can be programmed. If you're going to do visualization work or you're going to do hypnosis work, you're going to want to do it when you're in that state. Your subconscious is the key to the higher mind. Deepak Chopra called the subconscious the superconscious, and they're all one and the same. We just break it up for our lame conscious human brain that can't discern. But the superconscious is related to the subconscious. The superconscious calls in the things around us to respond to, and then eventually the conscious brain gets on board. The conscious brain is the last person to get on board. And then we see it with our 5 senses. And that is only if your beliefs, Saturn, don't cloud you so that you can't even see it. Because if you don't believe something is possible for you, you're not even going to see the opportunities. So your five senses are going to see what you're willing to see. So Virgo, Mercury in Virgo is the earth witch, otherwise known as the high priestess. The high priestess, she works with crystals. She works with the earth. She works with the moon cycles. She works with intuition. And I talked about yesterday in Gentle Power how intuition is going to be very, very important very, very soon. So take a listen to that if you want to know more about that. So the magician and the high priestess work together. Magicians is the number 1 card. And the high priestess is the number 2 card. You know what the number 0 card is? Uranus, the fool. So we're stepping into a new paradigm. We've already stepped into a new paradigm. And now it's about creatively making that what we want it to be. Ace of Wands. Ace is just a potential energy. Think of Ace as like the 0 card on a sublevel. Ace is like the most potential energy, but it's just that it's potential energy. And the magician is magic. Magic is just potential energy. And earth magic is working with the tools. Fire, wind, the seasons, earth, crystals, animals, totems, intuition, salt baths, ritual, routine, cleansing the temple, cleansing your environment. Have you ever cleaned up your house and then you get new clients? Or, I'm a big believer in throwing shit out. I fucking love throwing shit out. And yeah, give it away and recycle it when you can, but there's something about clearing out tasks, which is what I'm about to do. And old tasks hold energy too. So this Virgo season, clean up the fucking mess. And as much as you can, clean it up now. Why? Because this Virgo season, to me, is actually Leo season and Virgo season combined, because that Ace of Wands energy, that magician energy, which is what you're co-creating with the universe, and that high priestess energy, which is what you're co-creating with the cosmos and the moon and your ancestors, they're all related. With Mercury being retrograde this whole time, this was more about review. I mentioned I launched my new podcast. Well, I really soft launched it. I'm going to hard launch it the first week of September. Now, there's practical reasons for that. I have because I have Mars in Cancer at like 1 degree. By magic, when Mars goes into Cancer next week, I get my Mars return. So my energy, my life force returns. Powerful time to try to set up a weekly or even bi-weekly podcast. Bi-weekly, I mean semi-weekly, once every couple of days. And the other thing is that people return from their holiday season. So it's a great time to launch a podcast, because podcasts are all about routine. But even more importantly, the information's in. So I recorded a bunch of episodes where I dropped offers, and then my intuition was to hold off, because what's the worst case? Oh, my podcast isn't regular for a couple of weeks. Well, who gives a shit? That's where you kind of have to dance that line between business and intuition. My intuition is like, well, the information isn't in yet, and don't drop those offers until you know that's what you want to do. So that's all to say is that I feel like the creative power is in this Virgo season. And it's also a way to kind of announce without announcing that I will be talking a lot about my personal astrology on here as well, not just cosmic astrology, because I want to. And because if I just talked about cosmic stuff, macro stuff, I'm only going to be dropping a few episodes if I did that. And I will. I mean, there's no shortage, dude. I mean, there's Neptune moving into Pisces, Neptune moving to Aries, Saturn moving into Aries, Uranus moving into Gemini, Jupiter moving into Cancer, Pluto moving into Aquarius, the nodes switching. That's 6 videos. And that's why I never dropped another video after this until like June of next year. And frankly, maybe this will go away like a pumpkin. When, Cinderella turns into a pumpkin, maybe when Jupiter leaves Gemini, this will go away, or it'll morph into something else. My belief is that when Uranus moves into Gemini, this whole thing is going to move into something else. I see it being a show. I see it being a place where I have guests on, where we just talk about energies and weird shit. And it's just this alchemical mix that is co-created with the universe and with you guys and whatever wants to happen. Or it's just some weird thing that I birthed during a Uranus transit that dies. I have no fucking idea. But I'm going to be starting to talk about personal astrology on here whenever it wants to come through. I will keep it to personal stuff. I will try to make sure not to merge it with the business stuff. That is the Aligned Alchemist. That is for business owners, but whatever. And that is an example of really understanding how to work with business and intuition and life force. What I just explained about my Mars return, Mercury not being in. Common sense, someone would say, oh, just do the regular episodes. But then I've, announced offers that I don't want to do. And then you've kind of fucked up your business. So Gemini is about mutability. Gemini is about changing your mind. There's going to be a lot of mutable air, and it's going to be, I don't know, Mars is leaving it a Gemini as well. I am happy about that, actually, on the 4th, right after we leave the holiday weekend, because this is too much Gemini, at least for me. I'm an undefined head. I'm already a business owner. I've got 15 ideas. I'm a creative. Like, this is a lot, at least for me. Maybe it's a lot for you. And that's why even more, I mean, Mercury doesn't leave shadow until the 12th. I'm not someone who's like, you have to wait till the end of the shadow. I'm not one of those people. I think when it goes direct, you're fine. Again, I was born with it. So this doesn't affect me normally. I am just very cautious with other people, and I'm cautious about double checking time zones and leaving extra time when I go places because of traffic. Other people could be running late. Other people could be whatever. Other people could have a car breakdown, tire, whatever, because Mercury is day-to-day environment. But I'm born with it. So I usually run forth with scissors. And I've been very, very cautious this Mercury retrograde. And I think it's because this one's different. This isn't just about a Mercury retrograde. This is really about seeding, planting our future. And what do we really want to close out from the past? And what do we really want to seed from the future? And of course, all of the subconscious programs that come along with that, because we like to stay the same. And so we are both closing out the past. We are stepping into a new future. That's enough for all of our subconscious minds to freak the fuck out, because our subconscious is afraid of the future. It's afraid of the past. And the really way that we bypass that fear is that we work with the subconscious to secretly bring in the future step by step, kind of like eating one elephant at a time. And so communicating with the subconscious, allowing it to appear in our reality, our conscious brain accepts it, then we can take one step forward, we can take one step forward, we can take one step forward. So I don't really know what the heck this podcast was about, but hopefully you took something from it. Remembering Mercury is the mind, it's the day-to-day mind, it's the monkey mind, and it rules both Gemini and Virgo. But when Mercury's in Virgo, which I think it has returned, I'm not sure when it returns to Virgo. It might be next week. If it hasn't already, I'm not actually sure. Because it doesn't matter. Because to me, when a planet crosses two signs during a retrograde, so in this particular case, Mercury crossed the midheaven. Okay, that's crossed my midheaven. So I'm thinking that's the other reason why I wanted to make sure that my podcast, which is how I show up in the world, is exactly what I want it to be. So maybe that's why I was cautious. But it crossed Leo Virgo. So whenever a planet crosses two signs in a retrograde, I don't care when it returns to the sign. I care when the retrograde is over, because that's when the information is in. And that's why I don't do whole sign houses for retrogrades, because this is either going to be in two separate houses in your chart, or it's going to be in two separate signs, but in one house. And so it's going to be the relationship between those two signs in that house, or it's going to be the relationship between those two houses in that sign. So at any rate, I will be dropping a link to my cosmic consultations. I'm going to make it really quick and simple. It's going to be one page. It's going to be the entire, just a landing page. And that will be coming in the fall. And I will return in the fall. I don't think I'll have much more to say. Who knows? Maybe I'll be coming back on the next full moon. It seems to be that the full moon want to drop. So enjoy Virgo season. It's a power. I mean, those are three powerful cards. If you know anything about the tarot, Ace of Wands, Magician, Priestess, boom, it's on, you guys. Make this Virgo season count, because as you may or may not know, when we enter Libra season, that's the start of fall equinox. So Libra season, the sun moving into Libra signifies fall equinox, which is really a slowdown. We're through the peak. It's time to go inward. It's a time to, who the fuck knows? We have an eclipse on October 2nd. This Libra season could be crazy too. But you get it. It's like, it's game on. Let's make it happen. And yeah, like I said, like, comment, share on the YouTube videos for these. That's how they're going to stick around. If you don't know, that is the only way that drives the algorithm on YouTube, is to like and comment. And that way I know that you appreciate this and it's it's worth me doing and that you're getting something out of it. Like I said, this is a bit of something I just kind of do on the side right now. And it's the only way for me to kind of have this be for everyone, because if I make it on my main channel, which is for business owners, then everything kind of gets muddied together. And that is very much the Leo Aquarius thing. I am a creator, but I am at the mercy of Aquarius, which is the technology algorithms, and I have to play by the rules a little bit to do what I want. So thank you for listening. Enjoy Virgo season.